MS Positive, finding the good in life, no matter the cards we're dealt. Today I want to talk about children and having a family. It's something that I think is near and dear to many people's hearts, and it can be very controversial. Do you have children? Do you not have children? How many children do you have? How do you raise them? It's a very large subject, and before we get too long, I want to promise you that this story does have a happy ending. With the diagnosis in my early 20s, I had a lot to adjust to and to think about, which I worked through, and I had to make adjustments in my life with what I was capable of and what I wasn't. But when it came to having children, I had certain concerns that were significant to me, like if I'm going to be in a wheelchair or unable to walk, do I really want to try to bring people into the world and raise them? Is my disability going to be a hindrance to them? Will it cause me to harm them if I trip and fall, or what if I drop them? And I think those are legitimate concerns, but about 8 years ago or so, our family was losing people due to age or disease or what have you, and family gatherings were getting smaller and less happy, and I talked with my wife and we agreed that this is something we could do something about, right? Doesn't that sound like we're so full of ourselves, right? Well, some years after the diagnosis, we decided that we would try to start a family. And in short, I feel that we have been so blessed. There are so many difficulties or complications or things that we just haven't had to deal with. We thought it would be nice to have a little girl and bring them up in the family and teach them all of the things that we've learned and about the world and their place in it and all this stuff. And yeah, I bet you know how this goes. The universe doesn't always see things the same way that our imaginations picture it as before things happen. So we had a little boy, and he's amazing. He's still young, but I think with every parent, you go through adjusting to what it means to have children and what it's like, and you realize that all of your picture-perfect world of raising another human being on this planet was a little bit idealized. But really what I want to talk about is the part that MS played in that, because that was what I was concerned about. In short, not nearly as much of a big deal as I thought. There are a lot of things about raising children that are non-trivial, but that really didn't have nearly as big an impact as I expected it to. And I've been very fortunate with the disease progression that I've not yet had to face some of the symptoms that some people have. I mean, it's non-trivial, but I'm continuing to find things that work for me and things that help make life a little bit better, which is what it's all about. I gave up perfect a long time ago, and I think that maybe that's just part of getting older in the world and learning about life. I think that MS patients might have a certain preview of what that means, and maybe experience that at a slightly younger age or to a greater extent than they would have otherwise. But well, we tried to again and had another little boy, and he's amazing. And it really did make a huge difference for the family, because all at once when we got together we were focused on the new life in the family and what they were doing and what they were learning and what they had just figured out how to do, instead of just sitting around staring at old photographs, which there's nothing wrong with that. But for me, I kind of like that that's not all there is to life, that it has its place, and it's not all-consuming all of the time. And then we had a surprise. So a few years after that, and I bet you think you can guess what it was. You probably think it was another little boy. And you would be right, but only partially. It was two little boys. I was like, oh, well, this is great. We've got two. This will be no doubt. I could not have been more wrong. Twins is different. It's incredible. The oldest two are so close and love each other so much and do everything together all the time. And the twins are like that even more. They've got some bond that I think the rest of us will never actually truly know. It's incredible. And they're so smart and fun and always doing amazing things. And you know, yeah, MS has had a place in that. After the twins were 2 years old and I was going to change one of them, and I had one of my deepest fears come to pass. As I rounded the corner into their room, my feet got tangled in stuff and I started to trip and I started to panic. I was like, oh no, I'm going to drop the baby, or you know, the toddler. And you know, that was a legitimate concern. That's always something I was worried about since before they were born. And then I stepped on something else and I went down and, you know, tried to twist and land with the child so he wouldn't be hurt, and all of this stuff spinning through my head in fractions of a second, and we both landed hard on the floor. And he looked up at me and he was like, what was that about? And then got up and he was fine and I was fine. It was like my deepest fears weren't even something to worry about. I mean, yeah, you have to take things into account and try to avoid that, but yeah, there's a lot of reasons to not have children, just like there's a lot of reasons to have children, and we all have to figure out the right answer for us. But in my life, in my journey, in my experience, that wasn't really a good enough reason to not. There are reasons to have children that far outweigh anything that I could have been worried about. Like, you know, what about my career? Am I going to be able to support a family of a growing size? Because that, you know, can be expensive, you know, to bring another human being into the world. But in my experience, you just figure it out, and it works out, and it's okay. And, you know, if you decide that it's not something that you want to do, I can understand and respect that, and we all have to figure out what works for us. But if you do want children, I would say don't let fear rob you of what can be one of the biggest joys in being alive. You know, and you know, you worry about like, well, will they accept me when they realize I'm diseased? And you know, the older ones are starting to get old enough to realize that, you know, something's not quite right. But you know, the support that they have for me and for our family, and the love that they have, is like, why would I ever have doubted them and their ability to handle that, and their ability to accept and still love? Because it's absolutely there, and it's just like, well, that's a thing, you know, stuff happens. And I'm hoping that growing up with this is just a part of everyday life. You know, don't just dump everything on them or expect them to learn all of the intricate details of medical profession. But you know, when they have questions, I answer it completely honestly, and they understand, and they go with it. And I hope that helps them to go through life with more of an appreciation for the fact that, sometimes people have things to deal with that might make the bar a little bit farther away from them to try to go over, but that doesn't make anyone less human or of less value to humanity than anyone else. So that's really what has been on my mind and what I've been thinking about. And I know YouTube has guidelines on who can and can't be present in videos and stuff, but at some point you may see or hear something about them being in the background, and well, that's the story of what happened and what is continuing to happen every day. I mean, this morning I was going to do exercise and I had a 2-year-old climbing on my back while I was trying to do planks and stuff, and yeah, that increased the difficulty level, and there's stuff to deal with, but that doesn't make it not worth it. It's so, for me, it's been so very much worth it, and I'm really enjoying them being here and doing this stuff with us as we're working on changing the food and the gardening and all of the things that they're learning about and helping with. It's incredible to have someone so interested in life to be able to share with, and I think that's a lot of what this existence is about. So that's going to be the end of this video. I hope that you found it beneficial. I don't know if it answered any questions you had. If not, you're more than welcome to add them in the comments. I will definitely look at them and respond. As always, the like and share and comment, subscribe, all that stuff is really what helps make this kind of thing succeed, and if you've got value out of it, I hope that you will, but if not, then I understand that too. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.